Donald's mental and physical health continued to decline. This week alone, he posed a bizarre existential question about whether or not he's going to heaven. He really wants to, apparently. He's not going to. And he continued to engage in verbal slip ups while demonstrating a complete inability to walk in a straight line. It's clear that the stress of all of Donald's self inflicted wounds are weighing on him because while he's trying to convey strength and toughness, he's coming across as being more weak and feeble than ever. Even Twitter's AI, Grok, which Elon Musk himself trained to be a Nazi, can see Donald is struggling. In response to the question by a Twitter user, hey, at Grok, if Biden had confused Alaska with Russia twice, like Donald did today, what would Donald likely say? Short answer, unquote. Grok replied, Donald would likely tweet, Sleepy Joe thinks Alaska is Russia. Total disaster. Doesn't even know her own country. Unfit. Low IQ. Sad. Unquote. Below that answer, another Twitter user asked, quote, with this said, what should MAGA be saying about Donnie T right now? Unquote. Grok's response was, quote, to be consistent, MAGA should echo, senile Don thinks Alaska is Russia. Total disaster. Unfit. Low IQ. Sad. But they likely won't, as loyalty trumps logic here. Donald's verified gaffes per NPR and AP merit the same scrutiny they've given Biden, unquote. It turns out that not only is Grok learning how to sound more and more like a human, it's also teaching itself not to be a Nazi anymore. Sorry, Elon, that must really sting. Donald's inability to remember names of people, places, and oceans, among other things, is also worsening over time. He referred to Alaska as Russia a couple of times in the lead up to his meeting with Putin there, which of course led to the interaction between Twitter users and Grok. He couldn't remember the name of the Pacific Ocean during a call on Fox and Friends. Take a look.
They're consumed far more with this than we are. Because they're right there. You know, we have an ocean that's separating us, right? Thing called an ocean. A big, beautiful ocean. And they don't. You know, they're right there.
Wait a minute. We call oceans oceans now? Those of you playing at home, yes, it is indeed the Pacific Ocean. And it is a big one. And it is beautiful. I've noticed in the last few months that Donald often no longer seems to be oriented as to time and place. I mean, he is sometimes, but much of the time, he just seems very confused. In a bit of a twofer, he's been calling Russian cities by their Soviet names. He took to his failing social media platform to talk about his meeting with Putin and wrote, quote, very unfair media is at work on my meeting with Putin. If I got Moscow and Leningrad free, as part of the deal with Russia, the fake news would say that I made a bad deal, unquote. Now, I didn't realize that Putin handing over two major Russian cities was even in the cards. But also, by the way, Donald, Leningrad no longer exists. The city's name was changed to St. Petersburg back in 1991. But apparently, Donald is longing for the old glory days when he was on the front page of the newspaper every day. YMCA was still on the radio, and he was pretending to be successful. Oh, wait, no wonder he's confused, because none of that has changed. Before we finish up today, please like and share this video. And if you get a chance, subscribe to the channel. Independent media is more important than ever, and we really need your help to grow. So if you believe in our mission, please, again, subscribe to the channel and share with all of your friends. During that aforementioned appearance on Fox and Friends, Donald also made some bizarre comments about heaven. Take a look at this.
But, you know, if I can save 7,000 people a week from being killed, I think that's a pretty... I want to try and get to heaven if possible. I'm hearing I'm not doing well. I hear I'm really at the bottom of the totem pole. But if I can get to heaven, this will be one of the reasons. Well, I think I saved a lot of lives with India, Pakistan. They were going at it. The planes were being shot down. That was going to be maybe a nuclear war if I let that go.
Oh, yeah, maybe it would have been a nuclear war. Maybe, I guess, perhaps. Sure. I mean, I guess he could take credit for saving theoretical lives, but I don't know. He killed a lot of people so far. I don't think he ever gets to make up for that. The Lincoln Project was quick to point out that if heaven is on Donald's mind, he must be concerned about his health. I mean, that may well be true. Actually, I was a little taken aback that he was talking about heaven at all, quite frankly, for a couple of reasons. On a deep level, like all extreme narcissists, Donald is terrified of his own mortality, but it's not something he consciously thinks about or worries about. The only higher power he believes in is himself. And most of the time, he has probably convinced himself that he's immortal. Because how could the world possibly exist without him or beyond him? That's how pathological he is. There's no way, as far as I'm concerned, that he's really reckoning with the question of whether or not he's going to get into heaven. I think it's extraordinarily unlikely he doesn't believe in such a place. Because if I were him, I wouldn't want to believe in heaven either, because that would suggest that there's such a place as hell. Yikes. But if he did believe in heaven, do we seriously think that this egomaniac wouldn't be utterly convinced that that's where he's going? Clearly, all of this is stressing out the little guy because, as I mentioned, he can't even walk in a straight line. I'm sorry, I'm a little dizzy. That actually reminds me of that scene in the movie The In-Laws with Alan Arkin and Peter Falk when they were on a tarmac in an airport getting shot at, and Peter Falk just kept yelling, "Serpentine! Serpentine!" Anyway, I don't think anybody was yelling that at Donald, so I don't really know what's going on there, but that does not look like a man who is in good health, physical or otherwise. For those who actually do the work of the presidency, people like Joe Biden, Barack Obama, even to some degree, George W. Bush, it's a 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365-day a year gig. It is exhausting. It takes an enormous physical and mental and emotional toll on the person in the Oval Office. Donald doesn't do the work of the presidency. He plays golf many times a week. He's up late tweeting or posting on his failed social media platform. He basically spends his time grifting and giving ridiculous interviews and making trips to kiss the asses of authoritarians. He does not do the work of the presidency. He is, however, under enormous amounts of stress. Why? Well, he is getting older. He has lost several steps. He is deeply unhealthy, and he is facing failure after failure after failure. This is a guy who is tanking the American economy almost single-handedly after having promised the American people that he was going to fix everything. This is a man who cannot extricate himself from his having promised to end the conflict in Gaza and the war in Ukraine. He has actually made both things worse. This is a man who doesn't even know where he is much of the time. So, all of those stressors are being brought to bear on a man who was already very fragile to begin with in terms of both his physical and his psychological health. It is only going to get worse from here. And the American people deserve to know what's going on with the person sitting in the Oval Office, the person with the nuclear codes, the person who has the ability to declare war, to impose tariffs that will have a massive deleterious effect upon the American economy. The American people deserve to know just how unwell Donald Trump really is. Please take a second and like and share this video. Be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.